The wind howled outside, a relentless symphony of winter's fury, but inside my little cottage it was a world away. The fireplace crackled, painting the room in dancing shades of orange and gold. I was in my happy place, surrounded by a mountain of freshly washed quilts. There's something so satisfying about folding laundry, isn't there? The warmth, the clean scent, the neat little stacks that promise cozy nights ahead. I hummed a little tune, folding a heavy patchwork quilt my grandma had made. Each square told a story, a patchwork of my family's history. This was my favorite. It was thick and heavy, perfect for the kind of cold that seeped through the window panes. As I smoothed out the last wrinkle, the snowfall outside seemed to intensify. It wasn't just a gentle dusting anymore. It was a full-on blizzard, a thick white curtain that erased the world. The trees in the yard were already ghosts, their branches heavy with snow. I remember thinking how beautiful and terrifying it was at the same time. Nature's power on full display. I stacked the quilt on the pile and reached for the next one, a simple, soft flannel one. That's when I heard it. At first, I thought it was the wind. It was a high-pitched, thin sound, almost lost in the storm's roar. I paused, my hands still on the quilt, and listened. There it was again, a faint, desperate cry. It definitely wasn't the wind. My heart did a little flop-flop. We're pretty isolated out here. My nearest neighbor is a good half-mile down the road. No one should be out in this weather. My first thought was maybe a child was lost, and a cold knot of dread tightened in my stomach. I rushed to the window, peering through the glass, trying to pierce the swirling white chaos. I couldn't see a thing beyond the fence line, just snow and more snow. The crying continued, weak and intermittent. It sounded like it was coming from the direction of the old wooden fence at the edge of the property. I hesitated. Every instinct told me to stay inside where it was warm and safe. Going out into a blizzard, especially alone, is never a good idea. The logical part of my brain was screaming, "Don't do it. It's dangerous." But my heart heard that cry and couldn't ignore it. It was a sound of pure distress, a plea for help. I couldn't just stand here warm and cozy, knowing something or someone was out there suffering. Decision made, I grabbed my heaviest coat, pulled on my thickest boots, wrapped a scarf around my face, and yanked on a pair of gloves. Just as I was about to open the door, my eyes landed on the pile of clean quilts. On top was the patchwork one, the one I had just folded. Without a second thought, I scooped it up. Whatever was out there was going to need warmth, and this was the warmest thing I had. The moment I opened the door, the blizzard hit me like a physical blow. The wind tore the breath from my lungs, and icy flakes stung my cheeks. The warmth of the cottage vanished, replaced by a brutal, biting cold. I clutched the quilt tightly against my chest and plunged into the white wilderness of my own backyard. Every step was a struggle. The snow was already knee-deep and getting deeper by the second. I used the fence as my guide, shuffling along, calling out, "Hello, is anyone there?" My voice was snatched away by the wind, barely audible even to my own ears. The crying had stopped. A wave of panic washed over me. Was I too late? Did I imagine it? I pushed forward, my legs burning from the effort, my face numb. I scanned the base of the fence, my eyes watering from the cold, and then I saw it. A tiny, dark shape, almost completely buried in a snowdrift, right up against the fence post. It was just a small mound, barely distinguishable from the surrounding snow, but it was there. My heart pounded as I knelt, brushing away the snow with my gloved hands. Underneath was a little ball of fur, a tiny puppy, so small it couldn't have been more than a few weeks old. Its fur was matted with ice, and it was shivering so violently its whole body trembled. Its eyes were closed, and when I touched it, it felt like a little block of ice. It let out another one of those weak, heartbreaking whimpers. It was alive, barely. There was no time to think. I quickly unwrapped the big patchwork quilt, the cold air hitting its warm folds. I gently scooped up the frozen little creature. It was so light, practically weightless. I wrapped it tightly in the thick layers of the quilt, tucking the ends in to create a warm, secure cocoon. All that was visible was the very tip of its tiny black nose. I held the bundle close to my chest, trying to share my own body heat, and turned back towards the house. The journey back was even harder. The wind was against me now, and I was carrying precious cargo. But the thought of the little life huddled against me gave me a surge of adrenaline. I focused on the faint, glowing rectangle that was my living room window, a beacon of hope in the storm. I stumbled through the snow, protecting the bundle with my body, whispering, "It's okay, little one. You're safe now. We're almost there." Finally, I reached the porch, fumbled with the doorknob with my numb fingers, and half fell inside, slamming the door shut against the raging storm. The sudden silence and warmth were overwhelming. I leaned against the door for a moment, catching my breath, the quilt-wrapped bundle still clutched to my chest. I carefully carried it over to the fireplace and laid it down on the hearthrug, a safe distance from the flames, but close enough to feel the heat. Slowly, carefully, I began to unwrap the quilt. The puppy was still shivering, but maybe a little less violently now. I gently rubbed its fur with a dry towel, trying to get its circulation going. Its tiny body was so fragile, I could feel its ribs under my fingers. Who could have left such a defenseless creature out in a blizzard? A surge of anger mixed with my worry, but I pushed it aside. The why didn't matter right now. All that mattered was this little life. I warmed up some milk, not too hot, and using a small dropper I had in my first aid kit, I squeezed a few drops onto its lips. At first, there was no reaction. I tried again, and then a tiny pink tongue peeked out and licked the drop away. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. I patiently gave it a few more drops, and a few more after that. It was a slow process, but it was working. The puppy was responding. Over the next hour, I sat by the fire watching over my unexpected guest. I kept it wrapped in the no-damp quilt, its vibrant colors a stark contrast to the puppy's dark fur. The shivering gradually subsided, replaced by the occasional twitch of a dream. Its breathing became deeper and more regular. I continued to give it small amounts of warm milk until it finally nudged the dropper away, its tiny belly now slightly rounded. Then a miracle. Two little eyes blinked open. They were dark and glossy, full of a sleepy confusion. It looked up at me, then at the fire, then back at me. It let out a small, questioning yap. It wasn't a cry of pain anymore, but a sound of curiosity. I felt tears welling up in my own eyes. I reached out a finger and it sniffed it, then gave it a tentative lick with its sandpapery tongue. In that moment, nestled by the fire, wrapped in my grandmother's quilt, a little life that was moments from being extinguished had been rekindled. The storm still raged outside, but inside my small cottage, the world was quiet, warm, and filled with a profound sense of hope. That heavy patchwork quilt, a symbol of family and warmth, had become a lifeline. It had saved this tiny, precious soul. I knew right then and there that this little storm survivor had found its forever home, and I had found a new best friend. Thanks for watching our story today. If you enjoyed it, please give us a like and subscribe for more heartwarming content. We'll see you next time.